Hi, my name is Daryl Kaltoff. I've been teaching in the San Francisco Bay Area for about 20 years now. I also have experience as an air cargo and a commuter airline pilot. I have a website, BayAreaFlyingLessons.com. You can visit if you'd like to see more information about flying. This presentation's on finding the best flight instruction. All flight instructors should have at least a basic level of competence. They've all passed their private and commercial check rides and also taken a flight instructor check ride that usually lasts about 6 to 8 hours and has to be taken with the FAA directly or with a few of the designated examiners that are allowed to give check rides. So all flight instructors are starting off with a basic level of competency. The main difference is, the two main differences are how organized and dedicated the instructor is. In other words, are they really prepared? Or they really want to do a good job at it? Or are they just going through the motions because they want to get the experience of flight instructing and move on to something else? You know, their heart's not really in it. The experience of an instructor can range anywhere from less than a year to more than 40 years as well. And every instructor has different personalities, just like everybody you've ever met. So even if you find a competent instructor, you still want to find one that clicks with your personality as well. So as I say, the ideal instructor is the one that you enjoy spending time with, but also has a good theoretical knowledge of the subject that he's teaching, of flying, has a lot of experience to draw on, and loves to instruct as an end, not just a means to an end. Many flight instructors teach as a way to build flying time for the airlines. When they first get their commercial rating at 250 hours, there's really nothing else they can do. Nobody wants to hire them at that flight time. So if they can build up their flying time to the 1,000-hour range, then other job opportunities like air cargo pilot or flying traffic watch and things like that open up to them. So they're not really considering flight instruction as a career, but just a stepping stone in their career to becoming an airline pilot or some other kind of professional pilot, like a corporate pilot. Many of them, since they're not going to be flight instructing for very long, don't put a lot of effort into it. Many experienced instructors and some new instructors will put a lot of effort into making educational handouts and making things easier for their students and themselves as well. But if you're only going to be instructing for a year, it doesn't really make so much sense to do that. Most flight schools take advantage of this short-term situation, and the instructor's goal to look at this as a stepping stone and only charge them only pay them a small fraction of what they're actually charging you. So if you're paying $40 for flight instruction, the flight instructor may be getting $15. And for that reason, most instructors who aren't going to do it for a career will not stay in that situation very long, and as soon as they get 1,000 hours and have enough time to move on to another job, they'll move on. I'd like to go over some of the pros and cons of choosing an experienced flight instructor. An experienced flight instructor will typically charge more money per hour. They may charge 50% more, like $60 per hour versus $40 per hour or something like that in many areas. But an experienced instructor should be able to help you learn and progress faster, and therefore save money on your aircraft rental, which will actually be a larger cost than the money that you're paying for flight instruction during your private training. Experienced instructors are able to quickly pick up on student mistakes. They've seen more common errors. They usually have more than one way to solve a problem, like not being able to land in a crosswind, which was my biggest problem. Experienced instructors are more comfortable letting students make mistakes, especially in the takeoff and landing phase. I know I have my own tolerances that I'll let somebody reach before I take over for landing, and because I've been teaching longer and know what I can and can't do with the airplane to prevent damage to it, then I can let a mistake go on. And typically, I know that sounds bad, but somebody can actually learn better that way versus a student just barely getting off center line or something like that, and an instructor feeling like they need to fix that. And so I think experienced instructors can help the student to learn faster that way. A lot of times, experienced instructors have had more time to develop special techniques, like I have special techniques for helping people how to helping people learn how to land in a crosswind, which was my toughest thing I had to learn when I was learning how to fly myself. And we have thousands of hours interacting with the airplane, air traffic control, weather, and we can pass this practical experience on to our students, where when I had 500 hours, I just didn't have that much experience to pass on to a student interacting with all those different entities. The relationship between the flying club and the flying instructor I've discussed a bit before, but that's important because if you go to a flying club or some flying schools where the instructor is an independent contractor, then the instructor directly bills the student and gets to keep all of that money. I mean, they have to pay taxes on the money, but if they charge $40, they get to keep $40. And this is closer to providing a living wage for an instructor. Instructors don't bill 2,000 hours a year typically. They might bill half that or less. And so it's closer to a living wage. An instructor can afford to actually be an instructor as a lifetime career. With all of this said, an instructor with little experience can give effective instruction, and especially if they're organized and dedicated, so that's what you should look for. It's difficult in some parts of the country to find an experienced instructor for many of the reasons that I've said, because they just can't afford to do it for very long. I'll go over some of the questions that you can ask to try to figure out how much experience somebody has and if you feel that they're organized and dedicated. It's definitely well worth your effort to spend the time looking for a good instructor and interviewing instructors. This person is going to be giving you the skills that you need to fly for your whole experience flying, your whole career possibly. So I think it's worthwhile to find somebody with a lot of skills and knowledge to transfer over to you, especially somebody who won't miss something important like how to deal with a mountain wave or how to make good judgment and not fly in bad weather. The first question you should ask an instructor is when do they teach and what their current student load and availability is. For example, I teach from Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. in 3-hour blocks, and I also teach on Saturday and Sunday mornings. But if somebody was looking for flight instruction outside those times, like they wanted to meet me at 7 o'clock in the morning or 7 o'clock at night or later in the afternoon on the weekends, I wouldn't teach then, so I would just refer them to another instructor or help them look for another instructor who I knew did teach during those times. And also the instructor may have availability as far as matching your times, but may not actually have the capacity on their schedule if they're already full of students. So that's an important question to ask is, do you have the capacity to take on another student if I want to fly 2 lessons per week at these times? And then the instructor should be able to answer that question. Another good question to ask an instructor is, do they use some form of syllabus? It's best if the syllabus is written and you're provided with a copy of it. For example, I have a 3-page written syllabus that covers the solo, cross-country, and private pilot check ride preparation phase, so I can give that to a student and they know that I'm organized and I'm going to take them through the lessons in a logical manner. And the best thing about that is whenever a student asks me, where am I in my flight training, I can just point to the syllabus and say, you're on lesson 25, and you have the other 15 lessons after that to complete. So it's difficult for an instructor to get off track or to, as they say, milk a student and charge them extra time for extra instruction that may not be necessary. Not that most people do that, but some people have been known to do that. My syllabus covers the requirements of Part 61, that's the FAR part that mentions what items must be taught for each phase. For example, it specifically mentions 12 flight training maneuvers that have to be, 15 flight training maneuvers that have to be covered for solo and 12 for cross-country and so on. Another question to ask is, what textbooks do you have me use or what textbooks do you recommend? My syllabus gives reading assignments for the lessons in both the FAA textbooks and the Jepson textbooks. The FAA uses the Flight Training Handbook and the Pilot's Handbook of Aeronautical Knowledge. Those are both about $20 books, and you can even download those in electronic form if you just want to read them as well, even if you buy the Jepson books. There are links on my website links page, BayAreaFlyingLessons.com, to download the FAA textbooks. And the Jepson Private Pilot Manual, I think, is very good to read. It's a bit expensive at about $85 to $100, but you can pick one up used on Amazon.com usually. And then it's important, I think, for an instructor to have a lesson plan for each lesson. What I usually do is I make a handout for a particular lesson, like slow flight, steep turns, and stalls, and I give the student that handout and say, this is what we're going to do next time, so study that. And then when they come in with the handout, that handout keeps me on track and makes sure that I don't miss anything that I need to present. This helps both my student and myself be better prepared. I also have several instructional videos on my website, one on airspace and chart review, and several on GPS operations, and other videos like operating avionics in the airplane, like the auto panel and the radios and so on. So those are helpful as well. Another good question is to ask an instructor, how long have you been teaching? I've been giving instruction, as I said, about 20 years now. Some people also ask how many hours the instructor has. I have about 11,000 hours total, and about 9,000 hours of dual instruction or teaching. You can also ask how many students have you sent for a check ride or helped earn an entire rating, or how many students have you taught that have completed their training. I've completed the training for about 150 people, ranging from private pilot through commercial, instrument, tail wheel, flight instructor, airline transport, pilot ratings, all various different ratings. About the only thing I don't teach is in fixed wing is aerobatics. And then another good question is, would it be possible to talk to some of your past students? And it is possible to talk to some of my past students. I have references that I can provide upon request, so you can call them and talk to them. I also have a list of 8 written testimonials on my website. If you go to BayAreaFlyingLessons.com and click on the Testimonials tab. Another good question is, what percentage of your students pass the FAA's check ride on the first attempt? I have about a 90% pass rate. An instructor typically should have up in the 80s, 80% pass range or so on, something like that. And then questions like these will give you an idea of how much experience the instructor has and how organized they are, and let you compare one instructor's answers to another. Once you have narrowed your list down to a few instructors, then you should schedule 1 or more introductory flights with 1, 2, 3 instructors, and see which one you get along with best, and see which one you think is the best teacher. And that's the end of the presentation. Good luck, and safe and happy flying.